Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Ask Me Anything. Today's presentation will be recorded and will be posted on the Hub. As this is an Ask Me Anything webinar, we encourage you to ask questions. You can raise your hand and will be invited to speak, or you can type your questions in the question box on the webinar doc. Our chat will just be available for our hosts and panelists to be able to communicate with you. But if you have anything that you would like to share or ask in written form, we encourage you to use that Q&A doc. We're excited to have you here today. And now I will pass it on to Lorraine. Lorraine?
Hello, thank you, Rose. It's great to be here, and it sounds like we're going to have a great group of folks. So yes, welcome to Ask Me Anything. We're focused on the Corporate Fiber Benchmark Program, and we've got a great group of folks that are going to be available to take us through a few things. So let's get started. I just want us all to remember and to remind ourselves of why we're here. Textile Exchange is here because we want, and you're part of our journey, we want to make sure we're delivering a global textile industry that both protects people and planet by positively impacting climate, soil health, water, and biodiversity. It's something we do together. We hold this vision strongly, and you'll just notice that the verbs in our mission are inspire and equip. And so we're hoping that this time together this morning and looking forward to your questions really does both, that you're inspired by the work that other folks are doing, the opportunities that are here, and that we're equipping you with some great tools to get there. And thanks for where we are. We are still having tremendous growth. I think I heard from Celeste recently that we're approaching that 850 member mark. And we're close to 67,000 sites, I believe. And so this is end of year when we end of year, so the 61, but it's really great. And we do have over 400 companies that are participating in this benchmarking program. So good company. And just a reminder, we want to make sure that what we're doing and action that we're taking is driving this positive impact, but we don't want to have carbon tunnel vision. I know that there's such a focus on reduction of greenhouse gases, and that is a clear measurement and a really strong and powerful tool that we have for greenhouse gas emissions. But we don't want to do that in isolation. We want to make sure we're doing it in balance with building soil health, protecting and restructuring and supporting, whether that's with riparian areas, but making sure we're developing ecosystems that support biodiversity. And of course, water is key to our health and future here on the planet. The plus is also grounded in partnership. So again, thank you to all that are on this call today and all the groups that we get to work with. And just a reminder, we have a direction of travel, and it truly is about transforming an industry. And so it is about not only working on the tip of the spear, and many of you are that tip of the spear, you're in advanced regenerative, organic, and circular practices, but that may be only a small percentage of what you're doing in your corporate strategy. So it's really important that we move away from the status quo, the chemically intensive, conventional production systems that are actually harming the environment, and move into regenerative, healthy, organic, the different sustainable practices around soil, water, and biodiversity. So it is about a direction of travel, and we want to make sure that we are here to support every step along that journey. And like any journey, you really can't know where you're going if you don't know where you are. And so as we jump into this, I'm going to introduce Prerna, and it is important that, and I'm so thankful you're here, because it's your opportunity to find out a few more things. And at some point in time, it's like this, you may not have the infrastructure, you may not have, you may have a small team, but it's important that we start. Textile Exchange members are the tip of the spear. You are the ones, we are the ones driving that change. So it's really important to know where you are on the journey, where you need to go. And this is a great tool for supporting that. So Prerna, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Lori. Hello, everyone. A very good evening from Bangalore, India. Thank you for joining us today. I am Prerna Pandey from the Materials Benchmark team at Textile Exchange, and it's a pleasure to introduce you to the Materials Benchmark program. We are excited about this joint outreach with Lori and are thrilled to capitalize her valuable experience in the industry and her new role as a catalyst in the organization to help steer momentum to benchmarking in the textile and fashion industry. In the next slide, I would like to begin by introducing the team and taking the opportunity to share that we have recently undergone rebranding and are now the Materials Benchmark team. We are done away with long acronyms and hopefully have a simpler, straightforward name to remember and call ourselves. And this is also in alignment with internal naming conventions within the organization. Our Materials Benchmark team is now led by our senior manager, Haley Warren. Today, I have my colleague Jessica Garcia Lama join us as a speaker from whom you will hear in some time. We also have Chiara Ferrero and Maria it's difficult, Maria join us and will be actively monitoring the Q&As coming through. In the next slide. Next one. I want to talk a little bit about what the Materials Benchmark is. The Materials Benchmark is a peer-to-peer comparative tracking of fiber and raw materials sourced by companies in fashion, textile, and apparel industry. It is developed by Textile Exchange to enable participating companies to track, measure, and uptake and impact of fiber and materials, report on strategic approach for fiber and materials against industry recognized framework, and support the industry in reaching the Climate Plus target that Larry just introduced to us of reaching 45% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from fiber and raw materials production by 2030. Materials Benchmark is the largest peer-to-peer comparison initiative in the industry, and the program is expanding to support more consolidation in the industry reporting and deepening its role in tracking progress towards goal for climate and nature. In the next slide, we want to take you through how the benchmark has evolved over the last 9 years. It was piloted with 57 brands and retailers in 2015. We went through a phase of establishment as a program for the industry from 2016 to 18 with rigorous rounds of development and stakeholder consultation. In 2019, the Material Change Index, or the MCI, was launched. The Material Change Index is a public listing of participating brands and retailers showcasing the overall performance bandings in the benchmark. In 2020, the Biodiversity Benchmark Beta version was launched with an increased focus and pivot to climate and nature. The benchmark scope opened up and we invited pilot participants for suppliers and manufacturers in 2020. In the last year, that is in 2022, it was a critical year as we went through an extensive stakeholder consultation, which resulted in wider industry alignment, streamlining of the framework, updates to the survey, and more. This was the year that Biodiversity Benchmark was integrated as a module in the Fuller Benchmark survey to streamline reporting and reducing duplication for companies. Also in 2022, marked the third and the final year for suppliers and manufacturers pilot, which is now coming out to establish itself out of pilot in 2023 with increased participation. We also became the reporting partner for the Fashion Pact signatories to report on their targets and progress for their 3 pillars: climate, biodiversity, and oceans. And finally, now in 2023, we are soon to launch our revised benchmark survey in April, which is once again streamlined, industry aligned, and rebranded. For example, the Materials Benchmark in 2023 has started alignment with the Sustainable Apparel Coalition, kicking off with an alignment of 20 questions in the Materials Benchmark survey. And we hope for continued and increased alignment through this partnership. There are many more. And my colleague Jessie is co-leading on the partnership and alignment with the SAC and is here in case you want to know more. In the next slide, this is a quick one, but just to show that how the program has grown in participation over the 9 years. And we are now at 400 plus brands, retailers, suppliers, and manufacturers that see value in benchmarking. Today, we are excited for all of you joining this Ask Me Anything session. And as I pass it over to my colleague Jessie for the rest of the information, just a kind reminder for you to ask your questions in the Q&A box. And we also have a Q&A round at the end, so you can raise your Zoom hands and come off mute at the end to ask questions, and we are happy and here to assist you. Thank you. Passing it over to you, Jessie.
Thank you so much, Prerna. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Greetings from Barcelona, Spain. So now I'm going to walk you through some key information of the 2023 benchmark and key updates. And then at the end, we will have the Q&A. We want to ensure that you have enough time to ask as many questions as you might have. I'm going to start with the materials benchmark framework. As some of you might know, the benchmark has gone under review, strategic review, for almost a year and a half. Why? Because we want to ensure that we are meeting the needs of the industry and of course also of this fast-paced world. So we have been revamping the program, of course, also the framework. The framework has been reshuffled. As you can see here at high level, we still maintain the three pillars that we had in the past, being the critical part, the materials portfolio. So this is the core of the framework, where we ask for the uptake volumes, and we focus on tier 4, which is the scope of textile exchange. But how we approach the framework is from a holistic point of view, because, well, if you want to shift from conventional to non-conventional in your portfolio, you need to do it from a holistic point of view. So that's why also we look into section 1, where you can see business integration, circularity 2, so how you are approaching your business model, the materials portfolio, which is the core, and of course also the impact areas. So that impact areas, which is also very important, links to our climate plus strategy that Larry mentioned before, and also to the work that we are doing at Textile Exchange with Science Based Target Network and with the Task Force on Nature-related Financial Disclosure. A few more key updates on the benchmark survey is that we have been shortened the survey, reformulating the question. We want to ensure that it's clear how we ask the question, so also how you answer the question will be easier, and also make that experience for you much, much easier. We're also working on the scoring methodology that we will be updating you in March during the webinars and the workshop, but also that's something that we are working on. And how we approach the materials benchmark survey is going to remain flexible. With that, I mean that you don't have to complete the whole survey. We, of course, encourage you, but the only bit that's going to be mandatory is going to be the materials portfolio. For the rest, you can pick and choose the sections that you want to complete. The reason why we do that is because we ensure that everybody starts the journey or can progress in their journey. So we want to accommodate as many companies as possible. In the next slide, I'm going to cover who can participate. One important update is that the suppliers and manufacturers survey is going to be out of pilot for 2023. And then for all the companies, so brands and retailers, and also suppliers and manufacturers, all of them that can at least report on one material, raw material fibers, they are eligible to be part of the benchmark. What is also important, you can see here in the slide that also at Textile Exchange, we have two challenges. So we have the recycled polyester challenge and also the sustainable cotton challenge. Those companies that are part of the challenge, as a requirement, also they need to report through the benchmark. And the minimum requirement will be that materials portfolio that we saw before in the framework. With that, I want to encourage all the companies, to start this journey if you haven't started, and at least complete that materials portfolio by reporting your priority materials. I'm going to stop a second here on priority materials because, well, I will explain it a little bit in a few minutes what we mean by that. So we have a slide on that, so it will be clear. In the next slide, well, that's a key question, no? Why to take part in the 2023 benchmark? We know that there are a lot of frameworks out there, so why to be part of that? Before moving to the other slide, I'm gonna here mention three key things of why to become part. The first one is the focus. So the focus that we have in the benchmark is unique. So we focus in fibers and raw materials in tier 4. Then the tools that we provide. So what you get out of the benchmark, then I'm going to go into more details in the next slide, is key. And also the community. So when you are part of the benchmark, also you will be connecting with the community. in this slide, you can see the three main tools that we provide to you by being part of the benchmark. So the first one is what we call the confidential scorecards. And here, which as the name says, is confidential, so it's only for you. And here you will be able to see how you are performing year on year. But also you will be able to see how you're performing against the subsector and also against the sector. So with this information, you will be able to build or to improve your fibers and raw material strategy, and also to use that tool, that confidential scorecard, to guide improvements. The next one is what we call the Material Change Index or leaderboard. So this one is in the public domain, is a ranking about being part of that, which is completely optional. Also, you have demonstrated a commitment to transparency and continuous improvement around your material sourcing strategy. And the last one is a dashboard. So this one is also in the public domain. You will find it on the website. It's all aggregating information. And here, basically, what you will be able to see is the outcomes and the impacts associated with preferred material sourcing. And that's a key tool also that aligns and tracks the Climate Plus goal of Textile Exchange, which is to reduce the greenhouse gases in 45% by 2030. What also you will get out of the benchmark is to be part of that community that Prina, my colleague, will explain you a little bit later. But we have a space where you'll be able to connect with all the brands, with all the suppliers, and learn best practices and collaborate with them. In the next slide, I'm gonna quickly cover how you can prepare. So preparation is key, and we know that. So that's also why this year we are working on a checklist that we are gonna be sharing with you. Here, in this slide, you will find a very high level information, but we are developing an in-depth one that we'll be sharing with you very soon. Basically why we are doing that. So filling out the benchmark, of course, is important, but preparation is as important. So if you know exactly in advance what's the information that we are going to ask, also you can prepare that information. And also you can understand what you want to complete in the benchmark, since it's flexible. Also, it's very important to understand the timeline. I'm going to be sharing the timeline with you now, but if you also can build those internal timelines and have the task force internally, it will be a much smoother, I think, experience. You will enjoy the experience. And the last thing, but not least, also, I think it's very important with this preparation that you analyze what you need from us, because we're trying to build as many resources that we think that is important for all of you. But if you feel that something is not there, please let us know, because we are here to support you in this journey. So in the next slide, I'm going to cover the timeline. So here there is an important update. You will see that this year we are launching the materials benchmark survey earlier. So we are targeting the 18th of April. We are closing out the survey by the 13th of June. With that, we'll be able to launch the 2023 results, so all the tools that we saw before, the confidential scorecard, the materials change index, the dashboard, in the same year, by November 2023. We have shifted the timeline, and the reason why is because until now, those that have been already part of the benchmark know that it's because there was a gap on the data. The data that we were sharing, it was late on time. So we want to ensure that you get your results in the same year. So that's why we are launching the benchmark survey in April. What's going to happen before that? So we are right now in what we call the onboarding phase. So this Ask Me Anything is one of the resources that we are providing to you. Also in March, we're going to be running a couple of webinars 3 workshops. So in the workshops where we're gonna deep dive in the different pillars of the framework and any questions that you might have. And also we're gonna be running from March, what we call the drop-in clinics, that they're gonna be from March to the end of June. The drop-in clinics basically are informal, meetings that everybody that wants can join us, drop any questions, or if you don't have questions, you can also drop, there and listen to other companies, listen to what are the challenges that are facing and connect with others. Of course, we will be sharing also the guidance in March, so ahead of the launch of the benchmark survey. And then we are here, as I mentioned before, if you have any questions, you can drop us an email or we can jump in a call. So said that, I think that's all from my side. Now we are moving to the Q&A. Feel free to drop the questions that you might have in the Q&A chat, or also unmute yourself, and ask the question. We will cover all the questions. Thank you so much.
All right, folks, who's going to go first?
I think that we have one question in our Q&A box, so I'm going to definitely start with this one. The question asks, what are the costs of the materials benchmark for non-members? And that's an easy reply. There are no, so the materials benchmark is free also for non-members. That means you will get to be onboarded in the program, you can join the webinars, and you will also get the results like the confidential scorecards, and if you decide also the MCI and the impact dashboard. So it's definitely open for non-members as well.
And I'll just add to that this is part, Textile Exchange is a 501c3. So we're here for the public good. And this is one of those areas of literally catalyzing action. And again, you can't make good decisions if you don't have good information. So it is, most of our reports and like these key tools are available to the industry. And of course, we hope you join us at some point in time, but you need to start on your journey, and we want to make sure you have a good on-ramp and join us.
Thank you, Lori. Another question that we have is, as Textile Exchange members, how do we access this benchmarking tool? So we are now starting the onboarding period. So we will share with you where you can register to the reporting platform, and you can access all the onboarding resources, and as Jessie and my colleague were saying, all the webinars and the workshops, so the supporting schedule, but we will publish soon the link to the registration. So from that link, then you can access and create your account to then access the reporting, the benchmarking platform. So more information to come in the next weeks.
All right. Any other questions?
So why the other people are thinking about interesting questions, I would just wanted to share with some of like the key questions that we often receive as like an idea of what like the important parts. And one question that we get quite a lot is definitely what's the support there is available for participants, and what kind of support is available. So again, as Larry said, and my colleague said, you are not alone. So it's a journey that we're doing together, and you have a whole team here at Textile Exchange to support you. As Jessie mentioned already, we really invested this year in creating a better onboarding process. And we really want to feel companies supported throughout the whole year. So starting from January until the end in December. And again, this is the first of a series of webinar and workshops that will happen in March and April. So with this workshop and webinars, we're hoping to cover all the questions and doubts and deep dive also in the different sections of the survey. And then starting as well in March, we are hosting our drop-in clinic sessions, which have been very successful in the last years. And the drop-in clinics are more, I would say, informal session calls where participants can just participate, join and ask their question, ask their doubts. This year, we also want to have some experts joining, try to give you more support in the specific sessions. So it's going to be really an important piece in the onboarding journey, let's say. And then a key part is definitely the written guidance that we are going to provide to all the participants. And the big piece will be the materials benchmark guide, which is a detailed guide that explains one by one all the questions that are part of the survey. What's the aim of those questions? Why are we asking you this? If these questions are scored, if you need to provide any evidence. So it's really like your companion for the materials benchmark. And as Jessie was saying, another key part is definitely the onboarding checklist. So it's really in the form of a checklist, everything that you need to know and everything you need to prepare before starting compiling the materials benchmark and before the launch on the 18th of April. So it's going to be our key elements during the onboarding journey.
The other thing I would add to that is that it's important to start. And if this is part of your learning journey as well, you may start with one fiber or one program and figure out the infrastructure that you need internally for that. And so we would encourage you, don't be overwhelmed by it, but take a step and take a start. Anyway, so Yvonne, looks like Yvonne has a question.
Yeah. So what are some of the key improvements to the 2023 survey?
Actually, Chiara, I have two questions. One is that, and the other one would be if you could elaborate a little bit, what does it mean in our alignment with SAC?
Yeah.
Good question.
Jessie, is that okay to jump on that specific part?
Yeah, and feel free to feed in. Yeah. So in terms of the improvement for 2023 survey, there are quite a long list, I would say. The first one is the new performance balance to support our Climate Plus goal that we mentioned before. Also, overall, we have streamlined the survey. We have shortened the question, the survey itself. We have also ensured that how we ask the questions is clear. So we have streamlined section 1, so business integration and circular economy. Also, we have remodel section 2, so the materials portfolio, that's critical part of the framework. So hopefully now is going to be a much better experience and clear for everybody, a smoother also. We have landed also section 3, so that impact areas that links to our Climate Plus strategy. And also we have been aligning with other organizations, such as you mentioned, Yvonne, the Sustainable Apparel Coalition, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and also nature experts. Especially for the Sustainable Apparel Coalition, the alignment that we have been doing is that we have aligned around 20 questions from the circularity sections to the materials portfolio section and also the biodiversity questions. And the reason why we have been doing that is because even the scope is different because they're covering the whole supply chain and we are focused on tier 4. Some of the questions that we were asking were exactly almost the same. So in order to ensure that we are helping participants not to streamline all that, we have made that alignment in those 20 questions. which means that if you are reporting in the SAC, in those 20 questions, you will be able also to basically reply the same in our benchmark survey this year, and that will be aligned. The next step will be also next year, just as a heads up, to see how our platforms speak to each other. So by filling out one one survey, that same question that we are asking both will be also filled out in the other. Not sure if I have responded to the whole question. Otherwise,
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. It's so interesting because as greater regulation and different things come into play, and we're working with different partnerships like the German Textile Alliance and others, it's so interesting because the information that you're reporting, we are doing our best to eliminate duplicative surveys. And so our survey is more in depth in order to provide us the information we need. But also if there's a group that you're working with and that you have to report to as well, let's see if we can save some time and energy. And again, like the partnership with Sustainable Apparel Coalition or the Fashion Pact and others that Jessica mentioned, Ellen MacArthur and others, it's, we want to simplify and we want to make it as effective and efficient as possible. I also noticed we've got a couple of our fiber leads on the call as well. And so Anna, if you could come off mute, what do you think is unique about the different sections? Like I know we've got wool, we've got Kate is also on the call. So if you guys have questions specifically about some of the materials and the different sections, love to hear your questions. But Anna, you have anything you want to add about the different components?
Hi, Lorraine. Thanks very much for looping me in here, and it's great to hear more about the benchmark. But I think it really is, when you look at what the strategy where we're going with animal fibers and materials, and what we're trying to do is really encourage more uptake of certified materials that are meeting our new and updated definition of preferred. The materials benchmark is just such a great way for people to really sort of understand where they are, how they're improving year on year with these key materials.
Excellent. Kate, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would say pretty much exactly the same as what Anna said. And I think one of the key things when we look at synthetics in the benchmark is kind of being able to track the uptake of recycled, and particularly regarding certification, because we know that GRS is so important for brands and retailers when it comes to materials. Being able to have brands and members that are using the benchmark report on that and seeing how we build that picture going forwards. I'm really interested and excited to see how that develops as we get more companies coming on board, particularly from a synthetic side.
Great. It's so interesting too of the journey piece of the companies that have been doing this for quite some time. It has become a really effective tool for internal planning. So while it's important for us to kind of track the progress of the whole industry toward, more preferred and higher positive impact fibers and things like that, some of the comments that we get back from many of the companies that are participating is it just such an effective tool for them to have on where they're at and what they're going on. I won't mention any names, of course, but sometimes it's like one larger company, there were a couple programs, a yoga line and a baby line that were in organic cotton that some of the other people didn't know. It was kind of like a ad hoc opportunity. And so it's really interesting that some of these things can get buried in some, great initiatives and great places that are meeting some targets. So it is a great internal tool, planning tool, and projections place for you to build on. Again, I really appreciate the work that the benchmarking team has done to tighten up the timeline to make sure we're responding more effectively and efficiently in a shorter time frame. And there's also conversations, and we'd love to hear from you too, on other things like that we can do and add to this to make it more effective? I know that there's been a request that we start putting some possible projections in there as well in order to help, again, that become a more effective and powerful tool for you internally. I see we have another question. Growth projections. Who has a crystal ball? We should get that crystal ball out and look at projections. But Jessica or Yvonne, you want to add some things to that of what we're seeing as far as growth trends?
Probably not on growth trends. I'll defer to the team. And what I would like to add is, speaking of sort of projection, is I think one of the added features within the benchmarking tool that I noticed this year is two key technology features. Number one, the participants being able to manage their users, which was a little bit of a pain point last year. In the previous years is an additional tech feature that we've added in, I think. And the other aspect on projection is, at submission to be able to give an estimated score for the participants so that they have a better gauge before they enter into the review phase. I think these are two sort of efficiency gains within the program for this year.
That's great. And Maria has just posted internally a little cheater note for us. It's 35% from last year. And I would say we're probably going to match that or exceed that. Part of it is just like this, we want all of our members to be participating. And so we're really offering more workshops, more opportunities, more on-ramping to get folks in the group. Again, if we have a short time frame to get to this 45% reduction. And so it's really important that people know where they're at, make more key plans on year growth in preferred fibers. So we are making a concerted effort to make sure, especially all of our members are participating in this. But again, it's open to any company doing that. Speaking of any company, we just got out of the pilot years for the supplier component. Jessica, could you speak a little bit more about the suppliers modules and components in the benchmark?
Yeah, sure. But I think Chiara is better for that because she's the one who is leading on the suppliers and manufacturers now. So I don't know if you want to jump in, Chiara.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as Larry was saying, we are ending the pilot, 3 years pilot for suppliers and manufacturers. So that's great because we really try to also revise and revamp the survey to be aligned what suppliers and manufacturers requirements are and what they will like to see in the survey as well, in the materials benchmark as well. And we definitely want to grow the program for suppliers, manufacturers, so give more the possibility to those companies to join as well. So I would say it's really interesting to see how the first year goes. And again, a very important part, as I always say, is getting feedbacks from the companies that are joining, what they would like to see, how this can be improved. All these feedbacks are really important for us to really cycle by cycle improve the reporting experience and the whole journey. So yeah, it's going to be interesting this year. And I just have another question that I want to add, Hilary, and they're asking, what will participation in this benchmarking require from our company? And again, as I was saying, there are going to be very detailed documents, also the onboarding checklist. But basically, what we really would like you to do is, first of all, participate in the onboarding journey. So join us in the webinars, join us in the drop-in clinics to understand better what we are requesting you to do. As Larry was saying, set priorities. So define what your priority materials, raw materials and fibers. And if this is the first year, just start with your priorities. And because the survey is flexible, understand if all the section you can complete all the sections, or if you want to start maybe only with the materials portfolio, and then in the next year integrating more sections while you're going, because all the companies are at a different stage of their own sustainability journey. So don't rush, again, we don't want you to get overwhelmed. It's a process and we want you supporting this process. And again, the team is going to be there. Once you show their interest in the benchmark, we will definitely get back to you and really get the interest for you guys. So the idea is that if you are interested, just get back to us at benchmark@textileexchange.org, and we will provide you all the information that are needed.
Perfect. Perfect. We have one more question. Is there a similar program in the industry? Are you referring to the suppliers one or the brands one? Or both? Jessica, you want to take that for us?
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't know if it's for brands or suppliers. I guess for both. Okay, thank you so much for specifying. So as such, there is not something equal to the benchmark. We have, of course, there are many frameworks out there, as I was mentioning before, like, for example, the Sustainable Apparel Coalition, CDP, there are many there, but the scope is different. So that's why this benchmark is so unique, because we are focusing on, as Textile Exchange, the scope is tier 4 fibers and raw materials, and that's also the core of the framework. But of course, looking at the full picture, so I can say that no, there is nothing equal to the benchmark, I would say. And just, I think, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to add, one of the things that are uniquely different about the materials benchmark is an overview on the entire materials portfolio. I think there are certain programs out there that basically tracks the usage of perhaps cotton or perhaps recycled polyester, but none that looks at the organization overview on the portfolio of materials that is being used by the entire company, and the prioritization of those materials along the supply chain as well. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you so
All
much.
right. Well, if there's no other further open questions, then we'll go into kind of some next things that the team has for helping folks on this journey.
Great. Yeah, good. Some good questions. I definitely did a lot of learning. Yeah, so materials benchmark is the place to start measuring your progress. And as Larry said, you cannot make good decisions if you don't have good information. And we are here for that. We've created this for you, so it's very much your tool. And one thing we can say, and I think everybody has established in my team, that we are here for your onboarding and support services, and to ensure, to help you that there's no barriers to benchmarking. Wherever you are, it's a starting point. You can begin with one fiber and one module. Yeah, so do not hesitate and get started. Some of the actions that we have for you at the moment is that if you're new, confirm your participation to us via email, because we are happy to arrange an onboarding call with you as a part of your first year. And the 2023 registration link will be out in March. So that will definitely be announced through, follow-ups and newsletter and everywhere possible. So that's there. But just before that, there's an opportunity to confirm your participation. As we mentioned, we have a series of overview webinars and getting started workshops in March. We have arranged sessions to accommodate different time zones across the world. So there are enough options for you to join. And as Jesse mentioned, it's very important and recommended to be a part of our hub community. We have a special one for materials benchmark. This will be your way to stay most updated and connected with the benchmark community, know about the related announcements, events, resources, and everything. That's from us. There is our email address, as we mentioned, benchmark@textileexchange.org. Feel free to reach out to us, and we are here to help you and support you. Over to you, Larry. Any closing
Yes.
thoughts?
Thank you so much. I hope that this has been a nice overview and an opportunity for checking things out. I was just going to ask if there's any additional questions. And yes, we will, Rose will make sure that all the participants get a copy of this deck and the recording. And any other questions before we wrap up today's time together? It's your chance. Ask me anything. All right. Well, if there's no further questions, thanks everyone for your time. Thank you for your interest. It is so important for us to be working together. It's our first tagline when we were the Organic Exchange was "Together we can make a difference." And it's so exciting to see that together we are making a difference. So thank you for your time, your passion, your interest, and I hope that you join us in this journey and work with us on the Benchmark program, making it a stronger tool by your participation. Take care and have a lovely day. See ya.
Thank you to our speakers, and thank you for participating in today's webinar. Again, as a friendly reminder, an email will be sent to all registered participants with the links to today's presentation, and it will be posted on the Hub. That concludes our webinar. Thank you. Goodbye.
Take care.